Many of us rely on public transportation to reach our destination, assuming the safety and the reliability of the service. Unaware of the potential dangers, we hop on the bus, the metro, or the cab without any hesitation. But a single mistake, a bad choice, or a wrong time can lead to a fatal consequence that we never expected. Today's case occurred in the bustling streets of New Delhi, India, where a case that shook the world unfolded. This is not just any case. It is a tale that has etched its name in the annals of history as one of the most notorious sex crime cases ever known. Its impact was so profound that it ignited a global wave of protests and women's rights movements, demanding radical reforms to combat the pervasive gender-based violence in India. Known as the Nirbhaya case, it derived its name from a pseudonym given to the victim by the media, meaning fearless. In accordance with Indian law, her real identity was initially shielded from the public, forcing the media to refer to her by various pseudonyms, including Nirbhaya. However, her true name was eventually revealed after her brave parents granted permission to disclose it. Today, we delve into the heart-wrenching details of the case that gripped the world. It was December 16, 2012, when a 22-year-old physiotherapy intern named Jyoti Singh and her male friend, Awindra Pratap Pandey, embarked on what they thought would be a memorable night. They had just enjoyed a captivating film, Life of Pi, in the vibrant neighborhood of Munirka, located in South Delhi. As the clock struck 9:30 p.m., they boarded a bus, unaware of the horrors that awaited them. Little did they know that their lives were about to take a devastating turn. The bus had 6 men on board, including the driver, and they were all sitting away from each other. It didn't take long for Jyoti's friend to sense that something was amiss. The bus veered off its usual route, raising suspicions. He mustered the courage to confront the driver, demanding to know their destination. It was at this moment that the group of 6 men unleashed their sinister intentions, threatening the terrified duo and interrogating them about their presence on the bus at such a late hour. In a horrifying turn of events, a simple bus ride turned into a nightmare for Awindra and Jyoti. A scuffle broke out between Awindra and a group of 6 men, escalating into a brutal confrontation. Awindra, unfortunately, bore the brunt of their rage, enduring severe beatings with an iron rod until he was rendered unconscious. But the horror didn't end there. The men's attention swiftly shifted to Jyoti, who was paralyzed with fear. Dragging her to the back of the bus, they unleashed a merciless assault upon her, using the same iron rod as their weapon. Their actions were beyond comprehension, as they took turns subjecting her to unspeakable acts of sexual violence. Once they were done, the heartless attackers callously threw both victims out of the moving bus, leaving them unconscious and vulnerable. It was a passerby who stumbled upon their broken bodies around 11 p.m., immediately alerting the Delhi police. The couple was rushed to Safdarjung Hospital, where Jyoti received emergency care and was placed on life support. Awindra, though surviving the ordeal, suffered from broken limbs. The aftermath was devastating. Medical reports later revealed the extent of Jyoti's injuries, inflicted by a blunt object, most likely the very same iron rod. Her abdomen, intestines, and genitals suffered serious harm. It was a testament to Jyoti's incredible strength that she fought back with all her might, leaving bite marks on 3 of her attackers. This act of bravery only fueled the men's fury, leading to a brutal attack on her. As news of this heinous crime spread like wildfire through the media, shockwaves reverberated across the entire nation. The sheer brutality and senselessness of the attack left everyone in disbelief. Jyoti's condition remained critical, and she underwent multiple surgeries in a desperate bid to save her life. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, the Indian government took action. A committee of doctors was appointed to ensure Jyoti received the best possible medical care, On December 26, a decision was made to transfer her to a hospital in Singapore where she could undergo an organ transplant. Some doctors were skeptical about the idea of transferring her, as they believed she was not in the right condition for such a journey. However, against their reservations, a decision was made to fly her to Singapore for further treatment. On December 27th, Jyoti embarked on a 6-hour flight to Singapore, and this journey would take a devastating turn. Midway through the flight, Jyoti suffered a sudden cardiac arrest, plunging her into a state of unconsciousness. Despite the best efforts of the medical team on board, she never regained consciousness. Tragically, on December 29th, at the break of dawn, Jyoti was pronounced dead. The news of Jyoti's untimely demise spread like wildfire, igniting a wave of anger and grief across the nation. Within a day of this horrific incident, the Delhi police managed to apprehend the suspects responsible for this heinous crime. Through the aid of CCTV footage, they identified the charter bus used in the crime and eventually tracked down the driver, a man named Ram Singh, who turned out to be just 30 years old. With the help of the male victim, the police were able to create sketches of the assailants. They also managed to locate the stolen mobile phones of the two victims, which had been taken by the attackers. In a remarkable display of efficiency, the police managed to capture all 6 men involved in this gruesome act. Among them were Ram Singh, the bus driver, and his 26-year-old brother Mukesh Singh. Together, there was 20-year-old Vinay Sharma, an assistant gym instructor, 19-year-old Pawan Gupta, a fruit seller, 28-year-old Akshay Thakur, who had come to Delhi in search of employment, and a 17-year-old juvenile named Mohammed Afroz. Reports later revealed that prior to the incident, this group of men had indulged in a party together, becoming heavily intoxicated. Ram, who typically drove the charter bus on weekdays, decided to take the bus out for a joyride with his friends, even though it was strictly prohibited to pick up public passengers due to the tinted windows. They took the bus and first spotted a 35-year-old carpenter. They ended up robbing and beating him before dumping the man off the bus. The carpenter was not severely hurt, and he reported this to the police, which could have prevented an even crueler crime that would happen shortly after. But the police refused to take any action, so the attackers were running free to hunt for their next target, the young couple. 5 days after the tragic death of Jyoti on January 3, 2013, the police finally took action and filed charges against the 5 adult men involved. However, the situation with the juvenile, Mohammed Afroz, was a bit more complicated. The Juvenile Justice Board declared him to be 17 years and 6 months old at the time of the crime, which meant he would not be tried as an adult. Instead, he faced a separate trial in a juvenile court on January 10th. During the trial, one of the suspect's lawyers had the audacity to blame the victims themselves for the attack. He argued that they should have known better than to use public transportation and that they shouldn't have been out late at night. This outrageous statement only revealed the lawyer's deeply flawed perception of women in general. It was clear that he had no understanding of the gravity of sexual assault and its impact on the victims. The case took another dark turn on March 11, 2013, when Ram Singh, the bus driver, was found hanging in his cell along with 3 other inmates. The authorities were unable to determine whether it was a suicide or a murder, adding to the already intense public outrage. People demanded a swift trial and justice for the victims. Finally, on September 10, 2013, the fast-track court of Delhi delivered its verdict. The 4 adult men were found guilty of their heinous crimes, and on September 13th, they were sentenced to death by hanging. Their pleas for a lighter sentence were swiftly rejected by Judge Yogesh Khanna, who emphasized that their actions had deeply shocked the collective conscience of India. The judge made it clear that they would not be allowed to escape the consequences of their horrific deeds. Even the juvenile, who was also convicted of murder and assault, received the maximum sentence of 3 years in prison on August 31st, 2013, and he was released on December 20th, 2015. Throughout the entire ordeal, one of the perpetrators, Mukesh Singh, showed absolutely no remorse for his actions. In fact, he shamelessly blamed the victim for resisting, callously suggesting that she could have been alive if she had simply allowed the assault.
ताली कभी एक हाथ से नहीं बजती, दोनों हाथों से बजती है। ये चीज़ देखी जाए। अगर कोई शरीफ लड़की होती है, रात को 9 बजे मतलब नहीं घूमती है। लड़के भी उतना उससे ज़्यादा जिम्मेदार है रेप के लिए, ये लड़के हैं, उससे ज़्यादा।
This disturbing lack of empathy only further highlighted the deeply ingrained misogyny and disregard for women's rights that still plague society. March 13, 2014, was a day that shook India to its core. The Delhi High Court confirmed the death sentences of 4 men who had committed the heinous crime against Jyoti Singh. Their lawyers have appealed, but their hopes were dashed on May 5, 2017, when the Supreme Court rejected their appeal and upheld their death sentence. Even their lawyers sought mercy from the president, but it was all in vain. The 4 convicts were executed in Tihar jail on March 20, 2020, after being hanged for 30 minutes. The news of their execution sent shockwaves across the globe. It was a blood-curdling incident that left Indians reeling. As details of the woman's injuries trickled out through media reporting, people were outraged. Protests erupted at Indigate and Raisina Hill in New Delhi, and similar protests occurred throughout the country. The protests later spread across South Asia, with marches and rallies in Nepal, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. The Delhi protests gave fresh impetus to the fight against sexual violence. Wild rallies on similar issues were largely dominated by women before this time, but men were also actively taking part in the protests. They demanded harsher punishment for crimes against women, along with accountability from the state. The fact that a minor was among the attackers caused outrage over the fact that he could not be sentenced as an adult. This incident was a wake-up call for India and the world. It highlighted the urgent need to address the issue of sexual violence and to ensure that justice is served. The protests that followed were a testament to the power of the people and their determination to bring about change. So significant is this case that it even inspired a gripping Netflix original series called Delhi Crime, which delves into the harrowing events that unfolded on that fateful day. In the wake of a shocking incident, India took swift action to ensure justice for women. The country made significant amendments to its criminal laws, investigation procedures, and even the way juveniles are prosecuted. One of the most crucial changes was the revision of Section 376 of the Indian Penal Code, which dealt with rape cases. The punishment for this heinous crime was increased to a minimum of 7 years in prison, a sentence that was later raised to 10 years. Moreover, the law now mandates a minimum 20-year sentence for rape cases resulting in death or leaving the victim in a vegetative state. These changes were a direct response to the public outrage sparked by the release of a minor attacker in 2015. However, despite these legal reforms, crimes against women in India continue to be alarmingly prevalent. Experts argue that both the law and society must evolve hand in hand to combat this issue effectively. It is evident that the enforcement of laws needs to be improved, but it is equally important to foster a meaningful dialogue within society. Addressing the deeply ingrained patriarchal values that perpetuate such crimes is critical in preventing them from occurring in the first place. India's commitment to justice for women is commendable, but there is still much work to be done. By continuing to refine their legal system and engaging in open conversations about gender equality, India can pave the way for a safer and more inclusive society for all. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button to see more upcoming videos. We'll see you on the next one. In the meantime, stay safe and take care of each other.